At the meeting, several prime ministers raised the vexed questions of refuge. Okay, options. Okay, the same thing is divided into options. Is it following the same sequence? Yes. Part 1 is at the meeting, several prime ministers is part 2. Raised the vexed questions, part 3. Of refugees, part 4. Okay, quickly. Okay, a lot of you are coming back and saying part 4, part 4, part 4. But for me, in this context, in the given context, right, there is only, that could also be a reason, but then again, you do have, it really depends on the context. In the context, the only question that I see is, this one. If it's only about refugees, this is only one thing, right? So, vexed question, and it's almost off is bringing me or giving me a picture of, in terms of some sort of belonging to this particular thing. And I'm paying attention to the definite article, the vexed, right? Raise the vexed. And given the context, I would go with, it's a noun number error. I would delete this S. At the meeting, several prime ministers, all of them raised the vexed question, So that question is of refugees. So for me, the more obvious error for me is in part 3, where it's to do with the noun number error. The vexed, very specific, addressing one thing, and there's only one component being spoken about. So I will delete S. Vexed means very irritated or, frustrated or annoyed. So if somebody says, I'm very vexed with you. A vexed question is, in this context, obviously it's something to do with, a problematic question. Something which has an issue. But otherwise, vexed has different meanings in the context, right? You're annoyed, you're worried, all of these. But, like I said, the reason why I want to go back and say it is the vexed question, and the question belongs to or refugees. So, because of this of refugees, I'm going back. This, in fact, of refugees is helping me make sure or align myself to say it can only be that one question. So the question that worries them, or the question that frustrates them, or the question that is a problematic question is of refugees. That's how I'm going to, let me put that down so it becomes more clearer for you guys. So the question that is problematic is that of refugees. So anything to do with refugees is where the problem is. No, I'm vexed with you. Usually, I guess that's what you would say. The only thing that is a problem at the meeting is anything that revolves or surrounds or is pertaining to refugees. So that's the only problematic question. That's why, and I'm paying attention to, the definite article, the vexed. So if the vexed wasn't there, right, or even if the wasn't there, raised questions about refugees makes more sense. But here, because of the definite article the, I'm going with raised the vexed question of refugees. He was mad with his friend as he was woken up by his friend very early in the morning. Okay, where do you think the error is? Part 1, part 2, part 3 or part 4? Some of you are saying at, some of you are saying part 2, part 4. Okay, so quickly in terms of just collocations, okay, usually you need to understand the difference. Now, Britishers, right, they kind of relate mad to crazy. Okay, but in the context, we are talking more on the lines of he was probably pissed off with his friend, right, because he woke him up early. So, it's more on the lines of anger. That's the meaning that the context is conveying. So usually, when it is about angry or you're pissed off, you're angry at someone or pissed off at someone, you're always mad at someone, right? These are the collocations. You can be mad about something, right? And the Britishers, when I say the meaning that they're trying to say is crazy, then, you could say things like, you can be mad with desire. Alright? I'm talking about collocations with mad, and in what context does it go? You can be mad with desire, you can be mad with passion, right? As in crazy. That's the context. But otherwise, ideally, you're mad at someone and you're mad about something, And here in the context, we're talking about a friend. So, you're mad at. The error is in part 1, right? You change mad with to mad at. I hope you follow the context very clearly. You can be mad about money. You can be mad about something. Yeah, so he was mad at his friend as he was woken up by his friend very early in the morning. Yes, it is redundant, by his friend. You don't need it in part 2. I would say, again, in terms of redundancy, yes, you can remove it. But in terms of clarity, right, he was mad at his friend as he was woken up by his friend very early in the morning. It's understood, but then just for clarity's sake, if it's there also, it's fine. However, the more obvious error is in part 1. An incident when my youth taught me to stand up and do what is right, even if others do not agree with me. Okay, where do you think the error is? Youth. Quickly, let's see who is going to unravel this. Yes, the very obvious one that I see is definitely in option 4, right? Others. I'm assuming it's a typo error by Hitesh. Yeah. So, option 4, part 4 has, you need to change other to others. Part 4. And also, the instant itself. See, when you use when, you usually say, when I was so and so. When I was 14 or 15, this is what happened. But when you're talking about an incident that belonged to a certain period or phase in your life, when is not appropriate. So what do you use? Can anybody quickly tell me what do you change when to? Of my youth. Right? So part 1, you change when to off. Let's go back to the context. So this, I believe, is a typo by Hitesh, but the actual error is in part 1. Right? An incident of my youth taught me to stand up and do what is right, even if others do not agree with me. That's it. No, we're talking about the instant belonging to a particular phase or of your life. So off is more appropriate and not in. When I was young, not when I was youth.